What is up, my imagination connoisseurs? I know that there's no one here, so I'll wait for people to come back, and I'll tell them I'm live again, because this was my own fault. I apologize. I am sorry that I wasn't here. Try that again. No one's here again. That's okay. I'm going to wait, put everybody back where I was. Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Oh, well. Uh, 727-377. Aha. Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. What can I say? I am back. I blame it on Skippy John Jones. I wanted to show you guys. Okay, everyone, first of all, hello, imagination connoisseurs. It's I, the notorious R&B. I was going to do a live chat at 9. Unfortunately, Skippy the cat came here, and she stepped on my keyboard and ruined the sound. So I take it that all of you can hear me now. And it was unfortunate because Skippy John Jones is fully healed. I was going to show you her tail. You could see her tail. She did not have to lose her tail, and that is a great thing. So welcome to the second episode of Ripped with Rob. What am I drinking tonight? First of all, that's important. I'm having an Allagash White for all of you people. Allagash White. And a tall, frosty glass of Jameson in my Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice cup that I got at the ArcLight Theaters when I saw Batman v Superman. And I've got my light on to make me look even drunker than I am. And to be honest, I'm not really drunk yet. I've been working up a storm this week, and I didn't have time to get my drink on before I did this episode. So catch up with me, guys. And I know somebody sent me a super chat earlier, which I apologize. I didn't see what that super chat was. I'll have to go back and look at it. But please ask the question again, and I will answer it. I really appreciate you guys. By the way, I really appreciate all the support you guys have given me. You can't really see it here, but I've been buying some equipment to make these super chats, to make these chats way better. You're going to see in the next week, I'm really stepping up. I don't know what Gilbert is eating. Gilbert is eating here something, but the technical prowess of these chats is going to go way, way up. I'm going to get a mixer, and there'll be graphics and all kinds of things. So these live chats are I'm really going to step up my game. I've even got better lights. I don't have to use these digital lights on me. Bennett Hardy, Justice for Han. Thank you for that. So so this week it's been a very busy week. Actually, I've been doing a podcast for a company. I did a commercial for a Midwestern company. I worked on the feature film Tango Shalom with the director and replaced some music cues. And I've been getting many special effects shots in for Lucas Kendall's film Skyfighter, which we're in the home stretch, people. We're getting in all the effect shots, and we have our final mix at the end of this month. I'm really very excited. It's a 15-minute beautiful science fiction thriller, and it's a two-person. Actually, it's got four actors in it, and a fifth very exciting voice actor who comes in over the radio, who some of you might recognize if you're animation fans, or it might be Gilbert. You never know. You never know. But it's been a great week, very productive week for me. So I'm glad to have you guys here. But what's been on my mind this week? A lot of stories have dropped this week, and clearly Gilbert is thinking about these stories a lot as well. But what I wanted to talk about tonight is, do I want to talk to you, Gilbert? Would you like to know what, Gilbert? You're perfectly welcome to address the audience here if you'd like to. But what I would like to talk about is the truth. the truth, something that I've sometimes had a very tenuous grasp upon or of the truth. But what I think is happening to the truth, both on on a larger scale, on the national scale, on the international scale, and on the personal scale. And there's been a couple of things that have happened this week that has made me think about the truth. What does the truth mean to us? What does the truth mean to people we love? And what does the truth mean in general to the continuing happiness and of the human race, really? And I keep relating it back to making movies, because most of the things that I think about, I relate back to making movies. Now, here's something that a lot of people might find interesting to hear coming from me. But movie making, the actual process of movie making, is one of the most truthful endeavors of all. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking to yourself, come on, Rob, there's studio accounting, there's all kinds of shenanigans. There's all kinds of shenanigans before you get to make movies and after you get to make movies. But while you are making movies on a day-to-day basis, I've talked about in the past how movie making, you can actually give every second on a film set a dollar value, and you can watch it tick away. You know, that could be 5, 10, 15, 20, tick, 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 tick. 1 minute might cost you thousands of dollars on a film set. 1 minute. And compiled over the course of a 12-hour day, it could be a lot of money. Now, here's the thing. When you're making movies and you're burning money on a second-by-second basis, the most important thing for making movies is the truth. You have to know how much money you have, first of all, for that day. You can't fudge those numbers, because you know how much your locations cost, you know how much your payroll is going to be, you know how much your equipment is going, catering is going to cost. Everything has to be truthful when you're making a film, because there's so many moving parts that if you lie or if you want to fudge something, people are going to find out. And I was on a podcast today talking about Free Enterprise 2, the sequel to Free Enterprise that we were very, very close to shooting. And it turned out that the producer that we were working with, who told us that we had the money and there was hundreds of thousands of dollars spent in pre-production, when the day came, 2 days before principal, when we were supposed to get the money, it's called a drawdown. There's what's called a drawdown schedule, where if you're making an independent movie, you draw down a certain amount of money. It's a step ladder type of a deal throughout the production. And you have to know how much money you have at any one time, because there's so many moving parts. People have to be paid. You can't make a movie with your credit card when you're trying to be a professional. It's one thing when you're Kevin Smith was making Clerks and he couldn't put his movie on a credit card. You could do that. But when you actually have payroll companies and payroll taxes, and you have to pay a caterer, and you really have to tell the truth when you're making a movie. Now, you can't blame somebody else. You can't be like, oh, it's so-and-so's fault. Nobody cares. On a movie set, nobody really cares whose fault it is. I mean, if it's somebody who fucks up, they're out. You fire them, because you have to fire them. You know, you can't keep somebody around that isn't doing their job. That's why I've always loved being on movie sets, because for the most part, you're watching people work with military precision doing what they do. You know, I'm talking too much, and I'm not doing what false advertising. You're not getting ripped with me, because I am not ripping with you. So let's get ripped. Let's everybody take a drink. If you've got a drink, take a drink. Let's have a drink, huh? Oh, I've been wanting to drink some Dr. J-Mo all week. Oh God, I've been so sober this week. It's been, hard work. It's really not good. Despite what Christian Gossett said about the one day when I was editing Prelude to Axanar and I got ripped. It's true. It was on World Cup day, but I still got into the office. It's not really good. You can't do fine editorial work while you're ripped. I don't advise it, but all my editorial work's done for the day. So anyway, so on a movie set, you've got to tell the truth. You can't blame somebody, because people have to know what they're getting, when they're getting it, how they're getting it, and they have to make sure that they're getting what they need. If you lie on a movie set, people will find out. You can't cover it up. because there's usually a lot of people relying on whatever it is that you're doing on a movie set. So one of the great things about actual being on set, now I'm not talking about creative producers who are stashing money away to remodel their Frank Lloyd Wright houses or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the actual on the day. If you lie, you will get found out. You will get found out right away. And so, and that's pretty true of any endeavor that involves large groups of people trying to make something. Nobody cares about blame. What people care about is, do they have what they need to complete the task at hand? And when it comes to making movies, the task at hand is making your day. You have a schedule. You have certain scenes that you have to shoot during that day, and you have a finite amount of time and a finite amount of money in which to get the day done. And when you're working on a studio project, especially if it's, when I was working on The Hills Run Red with director Dave Parker, the studio called every night and they wanted to know one thing: did you make your day? And all they wanted to hear was one 3-letter word. And that word is yes. And then they wanted to hear you say, we made our day, because that's all they needed to hear. Because they know that if you didn't make your day, even if we were in Bulgaria, they would find out. And that's the great thing about making movies. And the truth is of paramount importance when you're making a film. Well, this week, we saw a number of things happen where the truth sort of didn't work in a lot of people's favor. We had the State of the Union, which I'm not going to talk about. I want to keep this fairly politically neutral. I like to speak about politics, not on this show. I mean, I'll address politics at some point, but that's not what I want to do here. But of course, we had the Liam Neeson controversy that erupted because Liam Neeson basically told the truth. He didn't have to tell the truth, but he did tell the truth, and he's been pilloried for it a lot online. And then there was something today that showed up in my Twitter feed that made me stop and think. It's actually what's got me thinking about this. I finished John Campia's show today, and then I had to go do another podcast at Dean Devlin's office. We record the Inglorious Trexperts podcast at Electric Entertainment, which is Dean Devlin's offices. Dean Devlin produced, of course, Independence Day. He produces The Librarians. He's a great guy, and he loves the Inglorious Trexperts podcast, and he basically underwrites the whole thing. So we go to his office and do these podcasts, and I participated in a podcast called The Greatest Movies Never Made today as well, where we talked about the ill-fated Free Enterprise 2. Free Enterprise is having its 20th anniversary in June. So as I was walking there, I read something on my Twitter feed where a guy had said that when he told his girlfriend that when he was 22 years old, he had experimented sexually with another guy. And that was basically, I don't know the details of it. He didn't go into details, but he said his girlfriend freaked out and said he was disgusting and he should have told her this before now, presumably because that would have affected whether or not she would have dated him or not. But it was interesting to me. Oh, and this guy wondered, is it wrong that she felt this way? And I was thinking in my mind, my first reaction to that was that, wow, he confided in his girlfriend something that was personal and probably was hard for him to deal with, or maybe not, but it sounded like it was tough. And he revealed a truth to her. Now, it was a truth that she didn't necessarily want to hear. And so she freaked out after he confided this part of his past to her. Now, it really got me thinking. I was thinking, should he have done that? Should he have told her the truth? Would it have been better to not tell her, and she wouldn't have been the wiser, and they probably could have I mean, I assume that that probably isn't the only thing he couldn't have told her the truth about, but it was something that he did tell her the truth about, and he opened up to her because he trusted her. He trusted her with this information, and he was honest and open. And now I'm only going by this one tweet that this dude sent out. So who knows about the rest of their relationship, but he did say this thing, and he was clearly upset by it, and he confided in her, and she freaked out, which led me to think, well, perhaps he shouldn't have told her that. Covered up the truth, not told her this truth. And it got me thinking about what happened with Liam Neeson. And we talked about this on the John Campea show. And, for those of you who don't know, Liam Neeson is promoting his movie Cold Pursuit. And he was asked by a reporter, has he ever felt the need to get revenge on someone? And he tells the story about 40 years ago when he was growing up in Ireland, and he called during the time of the Troubles. And if you know your Irish history, you know that the Protestants and the Catholics were at each other's throats, and the IRA really wanted to get out from under British rule. And so Ireland was a very rough and tumble place. People were getting killed. It was rough. It was a violent place to grow up. And I mean, if you're a U2 fan, Sunday Bloody Sunday, you can see the movie by Paul Greengrass. It's very interesting. So it was not exactly the most bucolic place to be 40 years ago. But Liam Neeson tells a story about how a friend of his was raped violently, and Liam Neeson was very upset by this, and he asked her. The only thing that she could tell him about what had happened was that she was raped by a black man. Now, in Europe, it's different than America because they have, especially the UK, it has a different history. But basically, that's all. So Liam Neeson said it made him infuriatingly angry. He actually walked around with a crowbar for about a week, and he wanted somebody to step up to him. He wanted a black man to step up to him, and he said that he wanted to just kill that man, kill a black man, could have been a random black guy. And he said he wanted to do that. But then he admitted that after a week or so, he started thinking to himself, what the hell am I doing? Like, this is insanity. And he thought about Ireland and how the Protestants and the Catholics were either killing each other for years, and violence begets violence. And what would killing somebody, a random black man who probably wasn't the guy who raped his friend, and he would have killed an innocent man. And he came up, he realized, he had a realization that was not the thing to do. A lot of people have to go to therapy for years before they reach these kinds of realizations. But Liam Neeson came to this realization on his own and realized he was insane. Now, and then, of course, you can watch the Twitter fallout and how he's been pilloried across the internet. Very few people. There have been some people that have come to his defense, but a lot of people, they stop when they just hear he wanted to kill some random black dude, and they don't look into the story any further. Now, I don't think that that's excusable, but he didn't do it. He just thought about doing it. He didn't actually do anything, and then he came to the realization on his own what he was doing was insane, and it was stupid and horrific and evil, and that he shouldn't do it. But it made me think about something that happened in my own life. Now, I was involved in a very long, protracted lawsuit that was a result of Agent Cody Banks. I had a partner, and it was horrible, and it went on for years, and it cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm going to do an upcoming Robservations live chat called The Unmaking of Cody Banks, and I'm going to tell this story. I'm going to have a guest, my fellow producer, Kerry David. I'm going to have her come on, and we're going to tell this story because we've never told this story publicly. And it's an amazing story, but it cost me $500,000. All the money I had made, all the money I had saved, I basically lost it. So, and I'll tell you how it happened. Not now, but I'll tell you how it happened. As a result of that, the person that I blame for this, and he was to blame for this, I wanted to kill that person. I did. I even had a friend in the military who made suggestions to me. He said, I can take care of this problem for you if you want. And no one would be the wiser. And I will admit that I thought about it. I thought about it long and hard for a long time, because people have been murdered for a lot less money than I was laying out. Imagine, if you will, you had to write a check for $3,500 to somebody for 6 years every month, whether you had it or not. And if you didn't have the money and you missed a payment, the money would double. That's how I lived my life for 6 years. I had to do that. So there were many times when I was freaking out. I'm thinking, this motherfucker, should I kill this guy? Let's have another drink, because I need one right now. Now, there were two things I thought about this, and it went on for a long time, a lot longer than Liam Neeson's long, dark week of the soul. For me, it went on for 6 years, and there were on and off thoughts where I'm like, but then I realized there were two things I realized. One, nobody deserves to be killed. They really, and this whole situation was partly my fault, and I was to blame for it. So to be really angry was stupid, and to blame someone else was probably even stupider. And secondly, I wouldn't have gotten away with it, because if there was any question, I've read so many crime novels and so many thriller novels and so many serial killer novels that I knew that I would be, and I've watched how many Law and Order episodes, I'd probably be the only suspect, and I would not have got away with it. But I know what it's like to literally pound your pillow and want to kill somebody, and I understand where Liam Neeson was coming from, because when I was in high school, I was involved with a horrific situation where a girl that had been subject to horrible sexual abuse for 4 years confided in me. Another story I'm not going to get into, but there was legalities involved, and I understand what that kind of rage is like, and what it feels like when you can't get the image of the person that you care about being violated out of your mind, and it's horrific. Now, in telling you these things right now, I'm trying to tell you the truth about these things. Now, I didn't act on them, and Liam Neeson certainly didn't act on them. He thought them. He was enraged, and his cooler head prevailed. And with me, I again thought about terrible, horrible things to do to another human being, who, by the way, deserved it. I just didn't. I didn't. It was a career killer. I mean, for me, I did get credits on the Agent Cody Banks films, and that was great. We got them made, and I take full credit for that, because we bought the scripts, and Zach Stentz and Ashley Miller, my good buddies, who are two of the greatest guys I know, they got us their first feature credit on Agent Cody Banks. So there was a lot of good that came of it. But I'll tell you, I wanted to kill a motherfucker. I really did. And what do you do with those feelings? And the question that I've been thinking about all day long as I was wandering around Hollywood and West Hollywood, I was just thinking about the truth. And do we as people really, especially in this day and age, do we value the truth? And do we really want to hear it? And how much truth do we have in our lives? Like, there's been television episodes where they have no filter. I don't think that human beings as they exist now can handle, like Colonel Nathan Jessup said at the end of A Few Good Men, can handle the truth all the time. We just can't. We're too sensitive. We don't want to hear the truth all the time. Like, as an aging guy, you're hotter and prettier. I realize as I'm approaching, the last third of my life, I'm just not as cute as I used to be. Now, I kind of know this, but do I want to hear it? No, I don't want to hear it all the time. But it's, it is the fact, it's the truth. I'm aging and will soon die. And I just don't look as good as I looked in my 20s, partially because, I like to drink more. I care more about drinking than I care about, going to the gym. Even though I do like going to the gym, but, really just rather drink Jameson and have some Allagash White. Pretty much. That's truth. That is truth. Mm, mm, yeah. But we need a certain, they're like a movie set. We need a certain amount of truth in our lives. We have to know, how much money do you have in the bank? Can you rely on your friends if you need help? We need a certain amount of truth. Like, people need to understand the world is round, not flat. They have to understand this, because much of our technology relies on the fact that we have orbiting GPS satellites, and if the world was not round, we'd have a problem. And there's a lot of people now, more people than I've seen in my lifetime, who apparently don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen to it. Like that poor guy who told his girlfriend about experimenting sexually with a guy when he was 22. That was truth. And she didn't want to hear that truth. And that's too bad, actually. That's too bad that this poor guy now will probably think twice before he reveals a truth to somebody he cares about, because he can't trust them. And I think the great thing about having intimate relationships with people, or long-standing friendships with people, is that you can trust them to tell you the truth. Like, I have two friends, Lucas Kendall, who I've made Skyfighter with, and my friend Dave Hargrove. They're two of the most scrupulously honest men I've ever met in my life. I don't think there's a lying in them at all. I don't even think I don't even think they're capable of it, and I've always admired that in them. Lucas is a very straight talker, and it's been fun working on this project with him, because, he's had to pull me back sometimes, because my truth is I tend to say, I want to say yes to everybody. I want to please everybody. I want to be involved in everyone's project. So I sometimes find myself biting off more than I can chew, really, because I'm like, yeah, man, let's do that, because I'm excited about it. But then I realize I've got 10 things due at once, and I'm, scrambling around, and all anybody needs to hear is, Rob, just tell me the truth. Tell me what's going on. When can you get this done? When can you turn it in? And I frequently, even now, I've learned this lesson 100,000 times over, but I still am like, yeah, man, I'll get it done. It's going to get done, and I'll get it done. It's just sometimes not in the time frame. People, and remember, here's another truth about Hollywood. When you're working on someone else's project, they don't care how many projects you have going on. They're not going to be like, oh, I understand. All they care about is their project, and rightfully so. They shouldn't. If I tell somebody that I'm going to get something done for them by a specific time, I damn well better do it. And I'm sure somebody in the audience is going, oh, Burnett, come on. Fuck you, dude. How many times do you make me wait? That's true. I don't mean to make you wait, but it's hard for me, because I get too enthusiastic, and I'm like, yeah, let's go do this thing. And I don't tell the truth exactly. And I should. It's much easier in the long run to tell the truth, especially when you're working in the entertainment business, or on any project where you're working with somebody. The truth will, in fact, set you free. But in this day and age, telling the truth might get you ostracized from the very business you've been working so hard to achieve in. So many goals that you're still looking for. You might have a 30-year career that, if you tell the truth in one interview, suddenly the entire world is looking at you, and half of that planet Earth that we live on, they want you gone. They want you gone. They don't even want to hear the whole truth. They'll just read a clickbait headline. That's it. Because the truth has nuance. The truth has complexity behind it. It usually can't be distilled into one sentence. It needs to be carefully considered. And look, as I said, I read a lot of fiction. I remember reading Girl Gone, or Gone Girl, for the first time, and the book was great, and the movie's great too. David Fincher's film with Ben Affleck, and I loved the film. But the book, when I was reading the book, you're reading this book along, and you believe what's going on. Then you hit a point in the book where everything you thought you knew about what was happening gets yanked out from under you. And I love that. I love, of course, it's an unreliable narrator thing, but that's okay. I like that kind of thing. But I do think that it tells us, it gives us a great example of what truth can mean, and how truth, you have to look at both sides. Another philosophy of life that I've always had is there are two sides to every story. And like I always end these broadcasts where I always say, every person you meet has a story to tell that you haven't heard yet. Well, that's true of the truth as well. The truth has many facets, probably a lot of which you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen or read or find out what that is. But I worry about where we're going as a nation and as a people, because people don't want to hear the truth. People are fearing the truth, and people only want to believe their truth. And those things scare me, because one of the things that I do is work in the entertainment business, and you need to know the truth. When Free Enterprise was getting made, I didn't know that our producer could not deliver the money that he said he was going to be able to deliver. And we got fucked. And I had to call William Shatner up and tell him we weren't going to make Free Enterprise 2 days before we were going to start shooting. And it was like calling my dad and telling him I got all F's on my report card, because I didn't know the truth. But that truth was something which would have helped everyone. So this is what I was musing about today as I wandered around a very beautiful, very crisp, cold day. It started out when I was walking to the train at 6:45 this morning. The sun was coming up. It was beautiful and crispy cold, and not a cloud in the sky. And the air was crystalline because we had all this rain. And I just started thinking about the truth. And I figured, I'm really not doing a good job, to be honest, to be truthful with you. I'm really not doing a good job getting ripped tonight, but I'm trying. I mean, that's a healthy pour. That's like 3 or 4 drinks in a bar. This is like 4 whiskeys, 4 double JMOs right here. But so what do you guys think? I'll throw it out to you. I've been rambling on enough, kind of doing a rip. And one of the things I loved about these conversations, the last rip with Rob was one of my most popular conversations. I had more super chats. I had more talkbacks. I had more people DMing me. And I'm sorry I haven't done one again, because they were going to be exclusive to my Patreon subscribers, which, by the way, I want to thank everybody who's subscribing to Patreon. I've been putting up Greg Smith's build. Greg Smith, the subject of my first Robservations episode. He's building a 1-to-1 scale probe droid from The Empire Strikes Back for the Emerald City Comic Con for next month. And I've been putting up, he's given me 2 build videos, and those are Patreon exclusive that I'm putting up, which I think is pretty cool. And I'm going to drop the second episode of Robservations probably this weekend, my interview with Diane Duane, who's one of my favorite Star Trek novelists. I interviewed her a couple months back. Technically, it's not the greatest quality interview because she was sitting at a bar in Ireland, and I just rolled out of bed, but it was cool anyway. So now I'm going to throw it out to you guys, since it is Rip with Rob, and basically it's supposed to be more informal. I didn't mean to talk this much, but I'm going to go and I missed whoever's super chat was there. And Bennett Hardy was Justice for Han. Thank you for that. I don't think there is any more super chats, so I'm just going to go back up to the top, and I'll see who's here, and let's see what we can talk about. Let's all take a drink though, because I'm going to try and finish this and get a little slurry, because otherwise, what's the point of doing Rip with Rob? Let's see. Notorious Robert Kessler says Notorious R&B. Bennett Hardy says, hey. Sam Reel says, hi. Bennett Hardy says, Justice for Han. I love all that. I don't get John, why he's hating on John like that. Am I hating? I don't hate on John. John Campea? I love John Campea. By the way, I got to say, here's a truth for you guys. I love doing the John Campea show with John, and I love doing the Weekly Hero. I think he picks really great topics for the show, and I am thought provoked when we do the John Campea show live. I am thought provoked. I really appreciate what John's been doing, what he's been trying to do, and I really appreciate that he's had me come on and enjoying the time there. I would encourage everyone, if you don't watch it live at 9 in the morning, Monday through Thursday, watch it afterwards and watch the Weekly Hero, because I really think it's good stuff. Brian Hing says, did you just tell us your password? No. I don't know. Maybe that was Dr. Gaster says, can we see your Basic Instinct hot toy? First of all, I don't have that. yet. Second of all, it's not a hot toy. It's made by Enterbay, and it's a statue, and it's quarter scale, and it's freaking awesome. And when I have it, you will see it on the John Campea show, because as everyone knows, my favorite action figures come with chairs. Now, for those of you who don't know, Enterbay, which is not part, did I say Enterbay? It's not Enterbay. It's Blitzway. Oh my God, I totally apologize. The people, so Blitzway put out the Ghostbusters, 12-inch Ghostbusters. They're a company, Blitzway is a company that is not, they're really good. Blitzway is a really good toy company. They've done some incredible figures. They've done Tony Montana. They did Carlito from Carlito's Way. They did an awesome Tyler Durden 2-pack from Fight Club. And they did all 4 Ghostbusters, and they're making a 6th scale Ecto 1, which is amazing. And they also did a great quarter scale Rocky Balboa figure, I think from Rocky 2. But for those of you who don't know, a couple months ago, maybe a month ago, 2 months ago, they put out a quarter scale Catherine Trammell, Sharon Stone from Basic Instinct. And it's the famous moment where she's being interrogated and she crosses her legs, revealing her female parts. And it's a statue of her holding her compact in one hand and a cigarette in the other. And she's just crossed her legs. Now, it's the greatest thing. The fact that they even made it is the greatest thing in the world. I mean, and the fact that they had to, it's an official Basic Instinct thing. Now, it's one of those figures where you have to send in a deposit like 2 years ago, and it goes into your pile of loot when it shows up. You got to pay it off. So, but it's awesome, and I love Basic Instinct. Basic Instinct, by the way, is 26 years old. It came out in 93. But the fact that they made it, you got to buy it, because she's like in her couture. I don't know if it's Chanel or whatever that white outfit is that she puts on, that Michael Douglas watches her put on. I can't believe anyone made it. But so it's made by Blitzway. Enterbay is another toy company, but it's amazing. But it's not Hot Toys. Anyway, I'm sorry I spent a long time on that. Brian N6, drink plenty of water. And Dustin NH says, I understand Star Wars is going through a growing or an awakening. But what can you say or base on what you think they will do to expand the movies? That's a good question. First of all, here's what I don't get. Like, after the Skywalker saga is over, I mean, I read a lot of Star Wars novels. When they started republishing them with the Thrawn series, when Timothy Zahn did Heir to the Empire and all that, I loved all that expanded universe, Knights of the Old Republic stuff. The Star Wars universe is completely rich. It's amazing. And I feel the same way when J.J. Abrams took over Star Wars. I feel the same way he did when he took over Star Trek. He didn't do much that was new. He just did a lot of retreads with old stuff, which seems sort of like, even if you don't like the prequel trilogy, I mean, there's so many cool things in the prequel trilogy. They're just but with The Force Awakens, we got X-Wings and TIE fighters. I mean, I want to see new ships. Give me something new. But I don't know where they're going to go. There's so many. I can't wait to see The Mandalorian, because we're going to see parts of the Star Wars universe we haven't seen before, and everyone loves Mandalorians. I mean, I have I have a quarter scale Hot Toys Boba Fett right on the other side of the camera I'm looking into right now, which is awesome. Dustin NG says 420, but drinking with you. 420, man. Look, it's called Rip with Rob. That doesn't mean you could be taking a rip from hopefully you've got some elaborate, unbelievable, nerdy glass bong that you're taking hardcore bong rips from. I am not. I'm taking another drink of the JMO. Let's see. Pre-live teaser says it's 5 a.m. in the UK. Pre-live teaser, are you up at 5 a.m. watching this? That's amazing. That's why I love my UK brethren. Nobody is more hardcore than my friends in the UK. And I can't wait to go back to London to see Bond 25 at the Odeon Theater in Leicester Square. As a matter of fact, I invite all of you. Here's where we're going to be. Me and Charlie de Lazarica, I'm going to drag him. We are going to be at the first show of Bond 25. All of you, I invite all of you. It'll be road tripping with Rob. Everybody will go to the first show of Bond 25 at the Odeon Theater in Leicester Square. It'll probably be at noon. We're all going to be there, and we'll go out and just get ripped afterwards, and we'll talk James Bond all day. I'm inviting you now. Let's do that. Sebastian says, I like the new Discovery episode. For Discovery, it's undescribable low standards. There was some stuff in the episode that gave me a glimpse of hope. You know what gives me a glimpse of hope with Discovery episodes? The end credits, because it's over. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't watched tonight's. I was busy, believe it or not. I didn't see tonight's episode. Dale M says, laugh out loud. Sounds like Gilbert is in the backyard getting ripped or ripping someone a new ass. I'll tell you something. Gilbert is the Gozerian of dog toy destroyers. I've never seen a dog destroy the toughest leathery toys. It's incredible. Sue Let's Go says, wow, someone put a thumbs down already. What the fuck? Let me tell you something. I've got detractors. Perhaps people don't like the truth. I know some people don't like the truth. I've worked for them before. But yeah, there's always going to be. It's funny. I get a lot of 2 thumbs down. Probably the same 2 people. You know what else? I heard a really interesting term that I'd never heard, an internet term. Like ghosting or whatever. This term, orbiting. I read an article this week called orbiting. And what orbiting is if you have an ex or a friend, or it's like cyber stalking, but you're not really stalking. You're just orbiting that person. Like what is it? What is there's something, it's a term like deep. When you go back down someone's Instagram feed like 2 years and you like something, that's called a deep, not a deep fake, but a deep something. It's a good term, but I love the orbiting. There's people in our lives that we just can't stop orbiting no matter what. I love that term. I think it's great. I tend to do that. I mean, you keep up with lots of people, but I like that term basically because it's astronomical, orbiting like a planet orbits. And, sometimes if you're a planet and you orbit the sun, like once every year, you come around and you see and I'm not talking about just ex-girlfriends or something. I'm just talking about people. You find out what somebody's going. Like sometimes I'll think about an old friend of mine that I haven't seen, moved away. You orbit them for a while and see what's up. I love that term. Mickey Shroom says, I don't need money. Money is the root of all evil. You know what? Money just represents work done, really. I mean, I don't think it's the root of all evil. We need money to do everything. So Dale M says, yes, you made my day, Rob, because it was kind of shitty until now. Well, Dale, that's what I'm all about. Anyone who knows me, if you ever call me on the phone, I'll tell you a funny thing. Here's another funny thing. So on my answering machine message, I don't know why I started doing this. I always says, see, it's kicking in. I always say at the end of my machine message, I always say, and as always, have a better day. Well, Dan Bates, who was one of the producers on Free Enterprise, actually gave me a job. He was looking for editors and freelance editors, and I got a job from him because he stopped calling editors because he wanted to know what I meant by have a better day. So I've always said, have a better day. I've been saying it for 25 years, and it got me a job once, and it led to Free Enterprise getting made. Pre-live teaser says, hi, Rob. I'd like to see a reboot of Blake's 7. It was created by Terry Nation, who also created the Daleks. By the way, Genesis of the Daleks is one of the greatest sci-fi stories ever. Okay. Pre-live teaser, who's up at the UK in 5 in the morning. Let me tell you about T-Live, what he just said. Pre-live teaser. If you guys don't know what Blake's 7 is, I'm sorry, by the way, the technical difficulties on my Robservations chat about UFO, which bummed me out. But Blake 7 is another sci-fi television series that if you like stuff like Babylon 5 and Blake 7 is one of the great, it ran 4 seasons, and yes, Terry Nation created it, and it's basically about a character named Raj Blake and his cadre of freedom fighters. And this was done in the late 70s. It was a BBC show, so it was shot on videotape like Doctor Who, and exteriors and effect sequences were shot in 16 millimeter. I own the whole series on Blu-ray. I mean, on a DVD. It's a very cool series. If you guys have never seen Blake 7, I recommend watching it. But again, it's like mid-70s Doctor Who. It's not for everybody, but it also has Blake 7 has one of the great spaceships, one of my favorite spaceships. And the thing is, it never does well in Starship SmackDown in San Diego because no one's seen Blake 7, but it's called the Liberator. And the Liberator is one of the most badass spaceships. It's not in there with the Enterprise or a Shadow Interceptor or an Eagle Transporter or the Millennium Falcon, but it's still a badass ship. So if you haven't seen Blake 7, I highly recommend it. Check it out. Crown Panda says, hello, R&B. How are you, Crown Panda? What's up? Dale M says, if she asked, then yes, he should tell the truth, but I'm all for keeping some things to yourself in certain circumstances. Look, I agree. Oversharing, you don't need to tell everybody. Here's the thing. Everybody has a past, and that's okay. You don't have to share everything. But if there's something that you want to share, especially with a significant other, that you need to share, perhaps this person needed to share that with his girlfriend. He needed to get it off his chest, maybe for whatever reason. It's nice to know that the people that you love and the people that you cherish and the people that you trust, you can trust them enough to know that they're not going to freak out. And look, that's asking a lot. I know it's hard, but still, you want people to not freak out when you tell them the truth, because the problem with our society now is we seem to have a problem processing. I mean, human beings are complex, crazy creatures. And if we shared half of the shit that's in our minds most of the time, nobody would like us. And it's if you choose to share something with somebody you love, I implore everybody that if you hear something that really freaks you out, take a deep breath before you decide to get angry and start throwing lightning bolts like Zeus from the top of Mount Olympus. Take a step back, take a breath, just take a beat, and think about it rather than just put on your war face, raw, and get all angry, because who needs that? Just hold your roll, take a deep breath, and then contemplate what this person has told you and what you've learned. And yeah, I don't know. Writer BL Alley says, not everyone believes one dude should be polishing another dude's rusty sheriff's badge. Well, okay. That's true. But here's the thing. I mean, again, human sexuality is very complex. My thoughts on the subject are, once you start doing things sexually that go beyond procreation, which is most of us all the time, then things get a little nebulous about what people like. I mean, why is it like if I have a scratch between the webbing between my pinky and this finger, and it feels really good to scratch, I'm like, oh my God, this feels so good. How is this any different than perhaps scratching other parts of my body or putting my fingers other places how is that different? We actually annex parts of our physicality. It's so weird. It's so bizarre to me. I mean, like, human sexuality in all of its myriad forms, I'm all for it, man. It's all good. And people get turned on. And if you think about it, human sexuality is also an expression of the imagination. The fact that we can think about sexual activity of all kinds, and we can actually have physiological responses to our imaginations and what they conjure up is pretty cool. Like, if you really think about it. And, if you can find like-minded human beings, whoever they might be, and if they want to participate in those activities in the privacy of their own home and everybody's a consenting adult, who cares? Like, I have to tell you something. I have never once in my life, I've lived in LA for 30 years. There's never once been a time in my life when I've ever cared what my neighbors were doing in the privacy of their own home, who they were doing it with, as long as they weren't hurting anyone else. I mean, it's never been a part. I mean, I've had all kinds of friends in the world, and their sexual proclivities have not affected my life at all. And I don't know why everyone is so worried about what everybody else is doing behind closed doors. What people should be worrying about is what they got going on behind their own doors. I mean, there's a reason why there was a song called "Let's Get It On." You know what I'm saying? I mean, if people spent more time worrying about themselves rather than what other people are doing, which doesn't affect you at all, then maybe we'd have a better life. Awesome says, Brendan Fraser had to pay his wife $50,000 a month. He's finally free this year. Wow, I didn't know that. Can you imagine $50,000 a month. I can't even imagine that. Oh my God. $3,500 that wasn't even alimony. I didn't know. My divorce, when I got divorced, it cost me $350 and that was it. My ex-wife, actually, she's a pretty great lady. She's cool. I have nothing bad to say about my ex-wife. Not really. Dale M says, I don't blame you, Rob. I would feel the same. I wanted to kill my ex-wife for a lot less, but I figured I'd let her suffer for the rest of her miserable life with her new miserable boyfriend. Dude, here's the thing. Remember what Yoda said, hate leads to suffering. Let go of your anger. Sebastian says, I have a lot of respect that you can tell us this, Rob. That's a dark story. I can't imagine what you went through back then. It's tough, but here's the thing. It was a dark story, but I can tell it to you now, and suddenly it becomes worthy of telling the story. So in a way, I look at it this way, even though it sucked, now I've got a story to tell you guys on the internet. And maybe I have fodder to make a movie. I've got some insight into what kind of anger and I'll tell you, my great friend Kerry David, who's one of the most beautiful people I've ever met, both inside and out, she and I bonded over this. And we got through it together. And now she made a documentary film about Bill Coors, like the Coors Brewing Company. And now she's making a movie. She's been making another documentary about female rangers who are stopping poaching in Africa. And, I going through that experience with her, she's also an executive producer on Agent Cody Banks. It made me have all kinds of respect for her. And now I have a friend, a lifelong friend, that we have this bond together. And I've been just amazed watching her develop her own directing career, which was something that she wasn't going to do when we were first working together. And she's amazing. So look her up. Her name's Kerry David, Kerry David. Look up her documentary that she's doing now. Find her on social media, and everybody tell her that I said on this podcast that she is awesome. And if you can support her, what she's doing, and she's doing all kinds of activist things all over the world, go support Kerry David. She's amazing. She used to be Nicole Kidman's personal assistant, so she did that too. Cosmic Owl 07 says $500,000 loss. I would have killed him, but at the same time, the money will not come back. It's only about revenge. And remember, all the great lessons in life you can find out in the movies. I would say The Godfather, and what is The Godfather's biggest lesson? It's not personal. It's just business, right? But what did Roger Moore say to Marina Havelock in For Your Eyes Only? Before seeking revenge, you must first dig 2 graves. And what did Khan Nooney and Singh say? Revenge is a dish best served cold. Revenge isn't good for anyone. It consumes your soul. You're always going to lose. And what I also learned about getting involved in lawsuits that cost a lot of money, the lawyers win. You don't. Let's see. Daniel Yama says, do you think the quantum realm will play a huge part in Endgame? Yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do think that is true. Let's see. Ryder BL Ali says, doesn't the Liberator look a bit like the Gunstar or vice versa? It kind of does. I mean, it's got this great green engine ball at the end. But not really, because the Gunstar is like a one-man fighter. The Liberator is a much bigger ship. Scott Dolson says, do you get residuals from online views of Free Enterprise? Do you know how much I've made from Free Enterprise since I made it 20 years ago? 0. I have not made one dime from Free Enterprise. I didn't even make a dime producing both versions of the movie on DVD. But you know why that is? Why is that, kids? What lesson do I try and impart to all of you? You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. And back in the day, I was just happy to have the money to make the movie. I did not do a good job negotiating. Oh, David Swanson has sent in a super chat. David, thank you for that. He says, David asks, as a child of Saturday morning cartoons, will there ever be a Hanna-Barbera movie universe? Stay awesome. You know what? That would actually be really cool. Because, isn't the Herculoids part of that? Johnny Quest, right? And they're going to do a Johnny Quest film. I think a Hanna-Barbera universe would be pretty neat, actually. But again, it's tough because, like with any universe, remember another rule that Robert Burnett has come up with: do not put your universe ahead of your characters. So you would have to build up those characters first. but I think a Hanna-Barbera universe could be really, really cool. I mean, I would be into that. I think it'd be great. Big for Adam and wait, big for Dam and Alfie Gamer. Big for Dam and Alfie Gamer. Thank you for the super chat from the UK. Hey Rob, I just watched the latest the John Campy show. Brilliant. You, John, and Ashley are dynamite, my man. Love every show. Keep being awesome, my man. Well, thank you for that. For those who don't know, we do. John brought in Ashley and he brought in me to do the show, and I think we've got a really cool groove. I mean, Ashley's a working actress and model, and she's done a lot of work, and she's smart, and she actually owns real estate in Joshua Tree, which I'm very impressed by. But she's really cool, and John, I think, does a good job about sort of including all of us. And as I said before, I really like the questions that John picks, and fact checker Jonathan and Ray Ora, who does all the graphics. I mean, John has a really cool group of us working on that show, and I think it's really great. And I'm really happy to be part of it. I really want to thank John for making me a part of the John Campy show, which has been a lot of fun. Teddy Mopar sent in a super chat. Teddy says, Rob, I think most people are so used to pretending to be someone else, they have a hard time accepting the truth without mocking or exploiting it. I think that's a very good point. The funny thing is, though, I think the truth of humanity is what makes us so interesting. And that's what makes us really cool. I mean, I think one of the reasons, it's funny, I had this girlfriend a long time ago that used to give me she gave me a lot of guff for reading novels. Like, I read a lot of novels. She was like, why do you have all these novels? They're kind of, what are they, how do they, why don't you read history or something? And here's the funny thing about novels. Like, my favorite novelists, I believe great novelists are dealing with human truths, because my favorite thing is verisimilitude. Verisimilitude is all about creating, I think, the truth in a novel or a movie or a song is sort of self-evident. And when the truth is addressed, we kind of instinctively, inherently know it. We know what it's like to live in the real world. And I think that kind of truth is interesting. But I think you're right. I think nowadays people are, we're too afraid of the truth. We're too afraid. We're afraid of that truth. And I don't understand, why that is. I know it's hard because the problem is the reality of our existence, at least in my mind, is that being alive is awesome. The Lego Movie 2 opens tomorrow. And in the Lego Movie, everything is awesome. They do an interesting riff on that. But being alive, we're here for such a short period of time and most of us lead lives of quiet desperation. And the thing is, human truths are far more interesting than the lies we tell ourselves. And that's what's I think such a shame. And when I read books, novelists like Don Winslow, you guys haven't read any Don Winslow, you got to read some Don Winslow. Don Winslow's book, The Border, which is the return of the king of drug cartel novels, comes out this month. And Don Winslow writes a lot of what's called California noir. I've talked about him before. By the way, Don Winslow is on Twitter. Go find Don Winslow and tell him that Robert Meyer Burnett, is talking about how great he is on Twitter. And you should read his books. You should read The Winner of Frankie Machine. So good. California Fire and Life. The Dawn Patrol. He wrote Savages and the sequel, The Kings of Cool, that Oliver Stone adapted as the movie Savages. Go find Don Winslow on Twitter and read some of his books, because his books have lots of human truth in them, even though they're about crime and The Power of the Dog, the cartel, and his new book, The Border, is like it's literally the Lord of the Rings of Mexican drug cartel books. It's awesome. Max Hughes sent in a super chat. What would the most emotional way to kill Captain Tony? Cap. Okay, pardon me, Max. Max Hughes asks, what would be the most emotional way to kill Cap and Tony, meaning Captain America and Tony Stark, Iron Man? Well, here's the thing. We haven't seen since the end of Civil War. Captain America and Tony Stark, Steve Rogers and Tony Stark are estranged. Tony wouldn't even call Captain America on the phone. He wouldn't even call him in Infinity War. And I think the most emotional way to kill them would be that they die in full view of one another without having reconciled their differences. They never got to tell each other that they love one another and that they were brothers in arms, and they're reaching out to one another like their hands don't touch, like Kirk and Spock at the end of Wrath of Khan, and they die without ever reconciling. Man, that would tear my throat out. That would be tough. Bennett Hardy says, I was talking about Han. John was a typo. That makes more sense. Let's see. Scott Dolson says, we keep hearing about your hot toy collection. If you don't mind, how big is it? How do you budget for it, or just buy as something piques your interest? Here's the thing. To be honest, my hot toy collection, I've just been trying to pay rent. My hot toy collection ebbs and flows with how much money I'm making on the job. First of all, it's really stupid ultimately for somebody to buy a bunch of action figures. But here's the thing about Hot Toys figures for me. Hot Toys figures are best when they're all put together in like a big, gigantic case. People get these DTOF cases. I had my old office. If you go, you can go watch a video that's on the Burnettwork of my Hot Toy collection, but it's outdated. It's like 2 or 3 years old now. But you can see how I displayed my figures in this case. It was in my office. And, here's what I buy. Like, I don't need every iteration of a character. I want the best hot toy of that character. So usually, like Black Widow, I gave the first Black Widow away. I've traded in Black Widows, or I'll sell them. The great thing about hot toys is they don't really lose their value. You can trade them or sell them and then get them and then buy the new one. But there are certain iterations of, and the thing about hot toys is they've gotten better as they go along. So the newer iterations are usually better. But like for instance, just sitting here, like I have the first. Okay, here's the first iteration of War Machine from Iron Man 2. Now this is you got Rhodey's head there. Now this is a pretty great figure. It's dusty though. It's a pretty great figure, but I have a Diecast War Machine that's way better. Now, I kept this War Machine because people are going to watch. I'm going to tell you the truth about this War Machine figure. I threw away the box. Throw everything I know. Throw everything at me right now. Terrible. Because I have done that with my older Hot Toys figures. Because I'm an opener. I'm not I'm going to put this down here. Sorry. I'm not I'm a collector, but if you have to like buy toys as an investment, you're not buying the right investments. I like to open my toys, I like to play with them. But it ebbs and flows. And sometimes, sometimes I'll pre-order a hot toy. Like I pre-ordered the first Hulkbuster that was like, $1,000. I put a deposit down. When it came out, I just couldn't afford it. So I never got the Hulkbuster. So now the new Hulkbuster is coming out. But I still owe Charlie DeLazarica money. So I need to pay him first. But it's a thing. It's a thing. You hot toys are an amazing luxury. What you really need to pay for is a nice house over your head. Pay the rent first before you spend money on luxury items. So yeah, let's see. What did I say that Fred F? Fred F says saw Cold Pursuit, loved it. Simple, funny, and dark revenge movie. This whole Liam Neeson thing really upsets me. The media took an honest conversation and twisted it, and a lot of people rushed to judgment. A lot of people, half the planet, half of Twitter, which is what they do. Like I don't understand. Like that's another thing. Everybody wants to rush to judgment and condemn people. I'll tell you something, and a lot of it had to do with race relations and things like that. I was lucky. I went to Korea last year at this time, working on a documentary project, and I'll tell you, being in South Korea, there aren't a lot of white dudes in South Korea. Let me tell you, there's the American military, but in Seoul, I could walk down the street and really felt invisible. It was really interesting, and I've always thought, when it comes to race relations, it really depends where you're standing on the planet Earth, because you realize the more you travel, the more you realize that people are like the Twilight Zone episode, people are alike all over said, they really are alike all over. My experience traveling around the world has been mostly positive. I've met a lot of great people in every place. And the one thing that people have in common, it doesn't matter what color they are, it doesn't matter what gender or what sexuality or what nationality, the one thing that people have in common all over the world is they want to have a great time, they want to have a great meal, and they want to hang out with great people. And every place that I've ever gone in the world, I have found that if you look, and I'm not naive. There's a lot of dangerous places. There have been people that get murdered all over the world. But for the most part, if you're smart about it, you got to be smart. Most people that I've met around the world have been great people, and I've had incredible experiences no matter where I've gone. And it's really interesting. I remember, it was very funny. I remember when I was working on Lord of the Rings, I met this American guy, black dude, and he was saying, because in New Zealand, there aren't black people. There aren't black people the way African Americans, I should say, but because in New Zealand, there's the Maori. The Maori are the South Sea Islanders they say they're indigenous to New Zealand, but they came from elsewhere. But still, the Maori are always fighting for the rights in their tribal lands. They're the people that do the hakas. And this black guy is from America. He's like, man, and they love me here. He was like, they love black people in New Zealand because there aren't any. And it was very funny to hear him say, he's like, man, if I knew now what I knew, if I knew then what I knew now, I would have come to New Zealand way before now. And it was really funny because it put the zap on his head, because his experience of race relations in America was way different than it was in New Zealand. If a cop pulled him over in New Zealand, it was because the cop would be like, hey man, how are you, mate? Where'd you come from? They weren't going to pull a gun on him. They would probably make him come out and like go to dinner or go play cricket and tell him about their experience. It's a very different. When you start traveling around the world, things are crazy depending on where you go, and you realize that again, nothing cures racism more than traveling around the world and sitting down and having a meal with people that you don't know. Because ultimately you realize that people are pretty great. People are pretty great. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of assholes too, but for the most part, people when you start traveling, they want to meet you. They want to talk about you, and they want you to talk about them, and they want to show you their culture. And it's pretty cool. Traveling is pretty cool. My experience in life, yeah, I got mugged by 4 dudes in Australia, and I had 3 crack ribs and broke my nose, and that wasn't good, but they didn't know me. So anyway, let's see. Tom Bateman's here. Tom, what's up? Tom Bateman, dude. Sorry the Rams lost, but you know what? They got the Super Bowl. That must have been a huge. Tom Bateman had a dream to bring the Rams back to LA. Not only did he do that, but they went to the Super Bowl. Tom Bateman says, Rob, I ended up leaving the business after 7 years with the company when I lost a power struggle to an incompetent fool. Why do so many people fail upward in business? Yeah, I know. You know what? The thing is, the weakness that we all have is that we care. Caring is hard. It's rough. But that's what the post-geek singularity is all about. It's about being here and persevering and going on and not giving up your dreams. A lot of people said that. I guess I said on the podcast the other night, I said, I'm going to be dead soon. I want to go out dreaming. I don't remember saying that. I guess I said, it sounds like something I'd say. And people are like, that was so good. Yeah, man. Like I said, I want to, on my deathbed, I hope I'm sliding into home plate with a martini in my hand, a hot toy figure in the other, and my girlfriend hugging my shoulders, and I'm carrying her with me right across home plate as my life is extinguished. I get one last sip of the martini, one last kiss or nibble on my earlobe, and I get to look at my favorite hot toy figure for one last moment, and then I'm off to the wherever. It's all good. Sam Reel says, I agree with you. I think Endgame is going to be an unbelievable movie theater experience. I think it's going to be action-packed and emotional. I can't wait. Dude, these cynics that don't like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't get it. I guess you have to grow up loving comics and loving the whole conceit of comics, because the MCU, they've made these movies what it's like to read comics. And now we're getting 3 a year. That's how long it took issue 12 of Camelot 3000 to come out. I was reading Camelot 3. It took a year. Crisis in Infinite Earths 12. I mean, we're getting 3 Marvel movies a year. It's incredible. Pre-live teaser says, thanks, Rob. Who should play the Batman? My choice would be the blonde coder from Bandersnatch. Actually, I love that guy. And he left social media. That dude's awesome. I think Robert Pattinson should play Batman. How about that? The King of Scotland says, when did the Skywalker saga continue? The main protagonist isn't even a Skywalker, and the second fiddle is a solo JJ. Dude, don't get me started. You know what the real problem with these Star Wars, the 3 new Star Wars movies are? Nobody cares. We try and care. Some people care. I mean, I appreciate that young girls have Rey and all that, but really they should have just made those movies about Han, Leia, and Luke. Because that's all anybody really cares about, and they didn't. They try and give us these other characters, and it's almost like, let's just get to who we really want to talk about or really want to see. David Swanson sent in a super chat. As a child of Saturday morning cartoons, I already answered that. So yes, it was a good idea. Brian Ing says, has Campy ever been to my house? He has not. I've been to his place. Campy has a cool place, 2 stories, but he's never been here. Haskell 420 says, hey, 420. Anybody who's got 420, we're getting ripped, right? I'm having another. This is the most non-alcoholic ripped with Rob I can imagine. I'm apologizing for that. We should be ripping up more, but hey. Hey, Rob and fellow dog owners, give extra hugs to them tonight. Good friend and Schmodown competitor Mark Riley, his best buddy Cal, aka Cal the Schmodog, passed away. Rip Cal the Schmodog. I know. I got to tell you about Mark Riley. Mark Riley is one of the nicest guys in the world. Here's a secret that nobody will tell you about the Schmodown and everybody involved. Everybody involved is like the nicest people in the world, except Hector Navarro. No, I'm kidding. Hector Navarro is great too. Everybody involved in the Schmodown is awesome. They're really nice people. It's so much fun to be involved. And not that I'm involved anymore. I don't know why people keep writing me about the Schmodown. I don't know what they're talking about. I have nothing to do with the Schmodown. Fuck all those people. Anyway, yes, I was sorry to hear about Mark Riley's dog. That was bad. Scott Dolson says, every Trekonomics, the economics of Star Trek. I have that book and I've never read it. But I should read it. Oh, dude, a ZCM Zombie Custom Map says favorite Twilight Zone episode. Don't spoil it. Oh, dude. For those of you who don't know, there's 100. I believe there's 157. The Twilight Zone ran from 1959 to 1964, 5 seasons. The 4th season's kind of lame because they were hour-long episodes. They didn't last. They weren't that great. But I do like On Thursday We Leave for Home. That kills me every time. There's so many great Twilight Zone episodes. The first Twilight Zone episode I ever saw, and still one of my favorites, is To Serve Man. That freaked me out as a kid. That was the first one I ever saw. By the way, another Allagash. You guys, Allagash White's a great beer. It's expensive. You only get 4 for the same price. Other people charge you. You get 6, but it's still good. So anyway, there are so many Twilight Zone episodes I love. I can't even. I always loved the Odyssey of Flight 33 when I was a kid, about the jetliner that ends up going through time. I was like that. Even though it's not a very good Twilight Zone episode. Walking Distance is a great episode. God, there's so many. You should just watch them all. And by the way, they are a revelation on Blu-ray. Unbelievable. The restoration of the Twilight Zone on Blu-ray is one of the greatest things ever. You guys should check that out. It is amazing. The King of Scotland. By the way, I love King of Scotland. One day you and I are going to have beers somewhere, or better yet, since you're the King of Scotland, we'll talk about Robert the Bruce, right? And drink. Beatmaster, you can only stick the landing when you pull off the move to begin with. Disney Star Wars is like a gymnast whose legs went numb before the jump. I think The Mandalorian is going to be great. That's under Disney's watch. Rebels was under Disney's watch. Rogue One was pretty cool. And I think there's a lot. Like, I think that J.J. Abrams was the wrong guy to do it. I mean, I understand why they hired him, but you know, yeah, I think this new trilogy has not been the greatest thing in the world, but I think Star Wars is going to get really interesting, and I'm looking forward to it. Let's see. Daniel Yama says, Rob, what are your thoughts on Karl Urban's Dread? I thought it was awesome. Well, if you watch the John Campea show, let me show you what I think about Karl Urban's Dread. If you haven't seen this is a bootleg figure. So I love that. This is actually artistic representation. This is a figure of Karl Urban's. I mean, and this figure is not a hot toy, but you can't really see. I should take it out. It's awesome. I love Karl Urban's Dread. It's so good. And I love this bootleg figure that I have, which is fantastic. I love it. Haskell 420 says, Daniel Yama, we have seen Celestials in the MCU and Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. Yeah, nowhere is carved out into the head of a Celestial. And as well, you say that nowhere was in the head of the, and the Collector and the Grandmaster and Ragnarok are both considered Celestials. That is true. Crowd Panda says, LOL, your honesty is refreshing. Well, thank you. If it's not honest, it's not fun, really. Well, I guess I've come to the end of questions here. Well, let's see. Midnight's Edge After Dark says, cheers, the King of Scotland. I like Midnight's Edge After Dark. There's a lot of I love the fact that Midnight's Edge. Here's the thing about Midnight's Edge. This channel, if you guys haven't watched it, a lot of Midnight's Edge, they call them. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's rumor mongering." They're always coming out about Star Trek Discovery. Here's the thing about Midnight's Edge. They have beautifully produced videos. I really appreciate it as a film editor myself and somebody who's done a lot of special features work. Midnight's Edge. First of all, they have a really cool logo. Like somebody who's working at Midnight's Edge, those guys and girls, they do a good job. Now they might do rumor mongering, but there's a lot of truth in what they say. But a lot of people are like, oh, fuck those guys. And like Doomcock, you ever watch Doomcock? They're kind of thrown in the same. Here's the thing, I love Midnight's Edge and Doomcock because both of these channels, and Doomcock's hilarious. And by the way, there's a lot of crazy. Doomcock was better than a lot of Saturday morning cartoons that I used to watch. There's a lot of cool stuff that I think Doomcock should do an actual show of some kind. A show where we see Doomcock go places and do things. But I do appreciate that they're, like myself, Star Trek purists. So for all the shit people might talk about those channels, and I don't even care that they love Alec Peters and Axanar, because Axanar was cool. I loved Axanar too. Crowd Panda sent me in a super chat. He says, cheers, Rob. Well, here's to you. We can't not drink. I feel bad. I should be drinking 2 of these. I'm really slow on the uptake tonight. By the way, for all of you people that the Liam Neeson thing, have you guys seen this? Have you seen Widows? Came out on 4K. Here it is, Widows. Liam Neeson's he's married to Viola Davis, who's a beautiful Black woman, and they have a sex scene in this film. And I don't think there's a racist bone in Liam Neeson's body, quite frankly. Anyway, Midnight's Edge After Dark says, we always cite our sources, otherwise cross-reference rumors with multiple sources and available resources, despite what people try and say. Hey, I watch every Midnight's Edge video that pops up, and I marvel at the work that's done. And by the way, I agree with in spirit with everything you guys say. Gregory Smith is here. My friend Gregory Smith. Now, Gregory Smith, of course, is the star of the first episode of Robservations, middle-aged cosplay. Greg Smith is so amazingly talented. I was jealous of Greg Smith's painting and artistic ability in high school, but I liked him so much because he's one of the nicest guys. He's always been Greg Smith has been one of the nicest people in the world that I've known. And we, what, Greg? You know what I'm going to drink to right now? David Shoemaker and Phil Houck. He's not going to, and no one else knows who this is, but we had 2 good friends, David Shoemaker and Phil Houck, who were killed in a drunk driving accident soon after they graduated from high school. So here's to Dave and Phil. Phil Houck and I went to see Bruce Springsteen together. Anyway, but so Greg Smith is building, he's snowed in all weekend because Seattle's going to have this deluge of snow. And Greg is building a full-size probe Imperial probe droid. And if you are a Patreon subscriber of mine, as long as Greg keeps sending me videos, I'm putting them up for Patreon subscribers. It's really cool. He built a full-scale land speeder. I think the next thing Greg Smith should build is an Imperial Walker, an all-terrain armored transport. Dale M says, give us your truthful thoughts on Infinity War or any MCU movie not much talked about. Give us a deep dive. Well, that would take a long time. Here's the thing. I will say this. I love Infinity War so much. And people are like, I am so tired. Whether you like the MCU or not, the MCU has totally captured the spirit of what it was like to read comic books. I mean, but they've done it with $150 million movies. And like, well, you always know there's going to be a sequel. It's not like you didn't know that when you read comics. I mean, it's so much fun. And Infinity War, if you strip away the fact that it's an MCU movie, look at you have a character turning on a neutron star. I mean, it's so much fun. Like, how do you not love that? It was like, I felt like a little kid. People are like, it's not that great. It's not the best comic book movie I ever saw. Look, Infinity War is the most comic book movie ever. It was like reading I never thought I would see Crisis on Infinite Earths. We might. Bill Hunt's here. What's Xenomorph drinking, brother? I don't know, man. I'm drinking some Jameson and I got an Allagash White. I've still got 104 people here. I just want to thank you for getting ripped with me. It's great. I feel like I'm getting my crunk on right now. I feel like I'm a little getting it up. Look, Dale, I love Infinity War. I love the MCU. And even it's so funny because I like Iron Man 3. I don't understand why people don't like those kinds of, I mean, sure, there's no world destroying thing, but it's a character piece. It's really interesting. It's amazing. Bright asks, am I reading anything lately? I'm always reading something. And what have I been reading lately? I'm reading the new issue of Empire Magazine right now, which I just picked up the other day. That's what I was reading. And Stephen King's new, very short novella, Elevation. Pre-Live Teacher says, my thoughts on Tarantino's Star Trek movie. You know, here's the thing. It'd be cool, but my problem with people that, there's this pop culture knowledge and understanding, the way my mom understands Star Trek. I think the Star Trek 09 to me is the perfect distillation of Star Trek as part of the popular consciousness. It's all superficial. The whole Kobayashi Maru scene in Star Trek 09 is so stupid and offensive to me. It doesn't give. I mean, James Kirk, the whole point about the Kobayashi Maru scenario, at least the way it was portrayed in the movie and in Vonda McIntyre's novelization, is that Kirk didn't believe in the no-win scenario because as a commander, he believes that there's always possibilities. There's always a chance, whether it's the Corbomite maneuver, or you can bluff, or whatever the hell you're going to do. That the idea that Starfleet has a test that's unwinnable, that is something that is the no-win scenario, Kirk disagreed with that. And so when the idea was he reprogrammed the scenario so it made it look like it was possible to rescue the ship. I always thought, and I think a smart person would think, that it would look plausible. Like he would go back, and if I might bring up Axanar, he might use Garth of Izar's plans or something from Starfleet history or something from history in general. So when he won the Kobayashi Maru scenario, when he was able to rescue the ship, when he reprogrammed the simulator, it looked plausible to everybody watching it. Like the professors are like, oh my God, no one's ever done that before. And they had to look into it and be like, wait a minute, this is not supposed to happen. And then they found out he reprogrammed the ship. But for a while, it seemed plausible and that it was a smart thing. The Kobayashi Maru scenario scene in Star Trek 09 is monumentally stupid. That you don't believe it. It's clear that he's not winning. He's just being a dick. And the Kirk, there's no intelligence there. He's just being a glib, like eating his apple, like let's blow up the Klingons, fire phasers. It was so stupid. I hated it. I hated it so much. And that all of Star Trek 09 it was the Star Trek the way my mother understood it. It was filtered through the pop culture lens of how Star Trek was understood by laymen for the last 50 years. And, if you want to read the same story, Shatner wrote a novel with Judith and Garfield Reeve-Stevens called Collision Course. That was about Spock and Kirk first meeting. Here's how that book opens. It opens with a 16-year-old James Kirk on Tarsus 4, where Kodos the Executioner is from. Kirk, a young Kirk, was on this planet. And as we learned in the first season episode, Conscience of the King, Kirk survived Kodos the Executioner. This novel opens on Tarsus 4, where 16-year-old Kirk has taken 10 kids that are going to be executed because Kodos the Executioner, Governor Kodos, said that in order to survive this famine, half the population has to be killed so the other half can live. A young 16-year-old Kirk has taken away like 10 kids and is fleeing from this execution squad, and they're being chased. And he saves these kids. That's how you do a canon-specific introduction to James Kirk as a 16-year-old. You show him doing something heroic that's based in Star Trek history, but that requires a knowledge of canon, which, by the way, the Reeve-Stevens knew canon, and Shatner didn't know that, but I'm sure the Reeve-Stevens did. And that's why I read Star Trek novels, because the great Star Trek novels have Star Trek canon in them. And they are the authors who wrote Star Trek novels thought a lot about Star Trek. And the problem is there's 100 Star Trek novels that are much more eloquently written and much more in-depth and much more understanding of Star Trek canon than what we're getting now in Star Trek Discovery. And that's what makes me so angry. That discussion of the D7 battle cruiser last week, just makes me angry. King of Scotland, I will have a beer on you, sir. I will have a beer on you. More super chats coming in. Zach Losel. Hey, Robert, L'chaim. I love that you said L'chaim. I got to tell you a funny story. So when we are doing, I will not name names. So L'chaim means to life, basically, in Hebrew. When we were doing the read-through and when we were doing auditions for Free Enterprise, people kept saying L'chaim in the auditions. I was like, what, L'chaim? I didn't want to correct anybody. You don't want to, because actors are all so nervous, but L'chaim, no one, L'chaim. L'chaim, everyone. Everyone should, let's all raise our glass. Let's all drink. L'chaim to life, yes. L'chaim, love your enthusiasm for all of our fandoms. What would you say the best way to get into voice acting would be? That's a really good question. My friend, a good friend of mine, Tanya Brinza, although she doesn't go by Brinza now because she's married. Tanya Lavriva, I can never pronounce that, her married name. But so Tanya, recently, she was an actress, but over the last couple of years, she developed her voice acting career. Now she's doing audiobooks. And I think you just have to come up with a voice. You need to make tapes. And now the great thing is people find people online, but new characters or things like that. I guess, but there are classes you can take and things that you can do, but really just start playing with it and put your stuff up out there. What's great about the internet is you can make your own tapes tapes. Look at how 20th century I am, but make your own voice acting and just do it. I mean, the great thing about the technology we have is if you start promoting yourself, things will happen. But just hone your craft. In a world where Zach wants to be a voice actor, let's see what'll happen. Report back. But thanks for that. Baby 8 reviews. Thank you for the super chat. Hi from Australia, Rob. Oh my God, I miss Australia so much. I cannot believe you followed my Twitter the other day. I almost fell out of my chair. Made my day. Keep up the awesome work. Let me tell you how much I love Australia. First of all, I lived there for a year when I worked on Superman Returns. I love Australia so much. Like if someone were to build a country just around my worldview, it would be Australia. I loved Australia so much. I love the people there. I love them. Okay, here's a funny story. It's not really funny. It's funny to me. So I loved InXS, and I grew up with InXS, and Midnight Oil and a lot of other Australian bands, Men Without Hats. But I saw INXS 3 times live with Michael Hutchence singing. So I had never heard of a band called Cold Chisel, whose lead singer was Jimmy Barnes. And I had only known Jimmy Barnes because Jimmy Barnes sang on the Lost Boys soundtrack with INXS. They did a song. Now, I'd never heard Cold Chisel. And so when I got to Australia, you'd you'd go into a bar like that had a jukebox or something, and somebody would put on a Cold Chisel song, and like the whole bar would stop what they were doing and sing this Jimmy Barnes song, a Cold Chisel song. And I just thought that was the greatest thing ever. That was Tommy from Sweden. He sends in a super chat. Thank you, Tommy. He says, "Come to Sweden and let me buy you a beer." Dude, here's the thing. All of us, everybody here, all of you who are part of the Post Geek Singularity, what are you doing? We're going to London. We're all going to London. We're going to meet in London. We're going to meet in Leicester Square, and we're going to go see the first show of Bond 25 at the Odeon Theater. Back in 2012 when Skyfall opened, I went there. I had tickets, and I found out when they were opening, it was like 4:00 our time, was midnight. The day tickets went on sale, and I kept refreshing. And I'm like, when they were available, I'm like, click, and I got we all got to coordinate. So everybody from the Post Geek Singularity here, we need to go to London to go see Bond 25 in Leicester Square at the Odeon Cinema. Johan Alexander's here. Hi, Rob. Greetings from the country that made the rad. Indonesia. All right. For those of you who do not know what he is saying, that is the greatest thing ever. So, as you know, there is a Gareth Evans, the director Gareth Evans. He's a Brit that was living in Indonesia. Made The Raid, or as we know it in America, The Raid Redemption, and he also made The Raid 2 Barandal. Now, these movies they're martial arts films. And the first raid is basically about a group of cops that assault a building that's been taken over by drug lords, and they have to fight their way up, not unlike the Dredd film, floor by floor. And the martial arts, incredible. And as I like to say, because I never say the raid, I like to say the rad. And the rad 2 even radder, or I should say, like, dude, that is so rad. So it's like there's the rad, dude, and there's the rad 2 even radder. These films are awesome. You guys got to see them. They're Indonesian and they are awesome. And I think the rad is on Netflix. And so again, anybody from Indonesia, that even if you're involved in this movie, I just love that Indonesia made these movies because they're great. And clearly you don't have to get production insurance because I'm sure people died making those movies. Wellington Smithopolis says, R&B, any chance we'll get a Hot Toys tour or maybe a R&B what's in my collection type of show? Well, it's funny that you say that because my good friend Carly Baker and my good friend Sean Decker work for a company called Gemmer. GEMR. It's a collecting website, and they did a video series which is ongoing. They did like 6 episodes on me. It's called Collection Complete, and we look at my collection of stuff. You can see that. So if you guys look up Collection Complete, it's on YouTube. Mike Mendez, who directed Big Ass Spider and a couple of other some great movies, the Convent. Mike's a great guy. Mike has the most insane action figure collection ever. They've taken over his house. It's unbelievable. And Mike's a really nice guy. And so go to Collection Complete. But yeah, I need a place. I mean, my collection's sort of scattered. But yes, one day I'll do that. But as I said, you can go look at my Hot Toys collection on the Burnettwork on this channel. Go look at one of the first videos I posted. Yes, so I should do that. But yeah. Johnny Longball says Tarantino and Star Trek Bloody Madness. My only thing about Tarantino, and I love Quentin Tarantino movies, I just think his knowledge of Star Trek is cursory. I don't think he'd do the research, but he would change it. Yeah. Sebastian says, do you see Trek made for the niche traditional Trek audience again if and when its mainstream appeal is not there anymore? Here's what I think the greatest problem with Star Trek is. they keep trying to change what it is to get mainstream appeal, and it doesn't work. What they should do is let Star Trek be Star Trek. Doctor Who, Doctor Who had a niche appeal outside of the UK, but when they started up again with Christopher Eccleston as the Doctor in 2005, and especially with David Tennant when it exploded, they changed. They kept Doctor Who being Doctor Who. They changed it, but updated it, and they got a much bigger audience. And I think that you can never go wrong. You can never go wrong assuming your audience is smart. And you have to get people. Part of the appeal of Star Trek is that universe, and it is the whole. Like, it really bothers me that these people that are making Star Trek now, Alex Kurtzman, they could have done anything, and the idea that they're going back and they're retconning Spock. Who are they to do that? I mean, we had Leonard Nimoy played Spock for a long time, even in J.J. Abrams' movies. I mean, you had 50 years, and now they're going back and they're telling new Spock stories. It seems to me it would be like, it's like when that woman wrote a sequel to Gone with the Wind, Scarlet. Like, it's not yours to do that with. You can create new Star Trek, but why do you need to go back and mess with what came before? And I get it. Oh, because people know Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. I think that's a fallacy, actually. Now they're doing a Picard show, but I think the modern audiences, I think that the next generation resonates far more with audiences than the original series does. But they keep trying to bring back classic Star Trek, and they do it badly. They keep trying to reinvent it, and I don't get why. And they're not doing it right. They've taken the wrong lessons away from what Star Trek was originally all about. And they're trying to they keep trying to change it. They try to turn Star Trek into Star Wars, and now they're trying to turn Star Trek into Game of Thrones and every other manner of serialized television. It doesn't work, but that's all right. Midnight's Edge After Dark says, I've been a struggling voice actor for years. There is a reason I don't narrate the videos, and Rob and Andre do. That's true. A man's got to know his limitations, as Harry Callahan said. Donnie Pearson says, Australia is on my bucket list. Don't make it on your bucket list. You should go, because Australia rules. It's so good. Sebastian says, Johnny Longballs, let R&B make Star Trek, and I'll bet it would be I bet it we would get Go in your analogy. It's interesting. If I could do anything with Star Trek, I would adapt a Star Trek novel, a previously written Star Trek novel. There's a few I would adapt because they're already there. I don't understand why there are hundreds and hundreds of Star Trek novels that some of them are truly great, and why they've never looked. I mean, you'll see in my Diane Duane interview, which is going to be the second episode of Robservations. I interviewed Diane Duane. She wrote some of my favorite Star Trek novels. She explains it. She lays it out why they never do, and it's sad. Scott Dolson says Star Trek Generations would have been much better if you got rid of Kirk's horse and had him in the Nexus. Well, that was another thing. I mean, they wrote that movie quickly. Star Trek Generations doesn't make any sense at all. That movie pisses me off. And I like Ron and Brannon, and they were so generous with their time on the Next Generation Blu-ray stuff. They're great. Dale M says, flipping through channels, and I came across the best part of Walk the Line. That's, of course, the Johnny Cash movie, where Joaquin Phoenix plays Johnny Cash when he's doing the prison concert. Love that part. I love that movie. I think it's a great movie. Let's see. Donnie Pearson said, I did my orchestral mock-up covers of some of the world's national anthems, including Advance Australia Fair, O Canada, and, of course, the Star Spangled Banner. That's cool. Calvin Burns says, London Rob Bond Con. Dude, I love that. I want a t-shirt. Let's do that. London Rob Bond Con. Let's do that. Let's make this happen. It's going to be a thing. We're setting it right here on Ripped with Rob. London Rob Bond Con. Yes. We're going to have a Bondathon in London, the London Rob Bond Con. I love it. Let's just do that. And it'll be in Leicester Square. We're all going to meet in Leicester Square. It's literally like a town square. And in front of the Odeon Theater. We're going to do that, and then we're going to go take over a pub. I'll find a pub. We'll figure it out. We'll go. That'll be great. Talcine sends in a super chat. What do you think of Valiant Comics doing movies? I think it's great. Again, again, here's what Valiant Comics needs to do. They've got to make movies, whether they do an Exo Manowar movie or Archer and Armstrong, they've got to establish these characters because nobody knows the fucking Valiant universe beyond comic book fans. But I like a lot of those characters. I really do. I think they're great. I think they're great characters. I'd like to see some of the Valiant characters. Solar, Man of the Atom, stuff like that. Donnie Pearson says, at the heart of the United Kingdom, speaking of which, I gave God Save the Queen, written nearly 2 centuries before, Canada, mock-up treatment as well. I like that. Mike Bodden is here, even more radish. Mike Bodden has a story to tell me. He's left me hanging all night. What's up, man? Dude, come on. I need to know. Johan Alexander is like, wow, you read my comment. You made my day, Rob. It's afternoon here. Johan, where are you, buddy? Where are you? It's afternoon. Are you getting ripped in the afternoon? Are you day drinking, Johan? Are you? Hope so. Scott Dolson says, are you scared about the upcoming Picard series as I am? I don't want them to ruin my perception of the character. Yeah. Well, yes, I'm scared because, they're going to make it like 25% less canon than canon should be. It bummed me out, man. I don't have any faith in the people that are running Star Trek because they're doing it for money and not for love. And look, I understand it ain't show love or show friends, it's show business. But, when you watch people like Weiss and Benioff, who are the showrunners on Game of Thrones, they haven't even finished those books, but they're doing whatever they can to bring that reverential treatment to those books. The Expanse, a series of 8 science fiction novels where I really like The Expanse. I mean, we're getting this great television where people are really trying hard. And it just bums me out. It's like, did any of the people writing Star Trek, it seems to me that there's just this cursory understanding of just flip through the Okoda's beautiful Star Trek encyclopedia. Just do that. Why not do that? It just pisses me off. It pisses me off. Ugh. King Dev says, love the John Campea shows, but Rip with Rob is the greatest live show of all time. Well, I thank you for that, King. That's great. Every time I do one of these shows, I wonder, am I going to lose any sponsorships, or are people going to be like, you really shouldn't, the kids watch you and you shouldn't drink. I agree. I probably shouldn't drink at all. But you know what I like about drinking? It tastes good and makes me feel freaking great. And you can make a funny show about it that you like. And that's good. Scott Dolson says, will you ever be a guest on Disco Nights and share your opinions of Star Trek Discovery? Okay, for those of you who don't know, my 2 very good friends, Mark A. Altman and Darren Doctorman, have created the Inglorious Treksperts podcast that Dean Devlin, Independence Day producer, underwrites and allows produces at his office, Electric Entertainment in West Los Angeles. And we recently did an episode with Walter Koenig, Chekhov himself, who came on and talked about his books, Chekhov's Enterprise. And the question is, will I ever be on our sister podcast, Disco Nights? Probably not. I believe I always try. Everybody who knows me will know I find something good to say about most things. And I can say this. I really like Anson Mount as Pike. I don't like the fact that he is Pike, but I really like Anson Mount. I think he's incredibly appealing as an actor, as a character. And I wish that he would be taken out of that horrible show. But he's great. So I can say that. Bill Hunt asks Richard Madden or Rob Stark as the new 007 thoughts. First of all, I love this idea. Some people say Richard Madden is wooden. I love Richard Madden. He played Rob Stark on Game of Thrones. If you have not seen the BBC show Bodyguard, it's a 6-episode show on Netflix. Watch it. I love the idea of Richard Madden as Bond. I love it because he's Scottish and James Bond is Scottish, and I would love to see that. It would be great. I'm a big fan of that idea. Mike Bodden says, when are we going to London? Mike, we are going. You and I are going to be there, son. We're going to take everybody we know. We are going on the day that Bond 25 opens. Now, for those, so Skyfall opened 2 weeks earlier in the UK than it did in the United States, and I believe that'll be the case. They've always given the Bond films traditionally an earlier opening, And I had seen every press screening of a Bond movie from Octopussy in 83 up to Casino Royale. And I didn't see Quantum of Solace until my girlfriend at the time, Mary, we went to New York and I saw Quantum of Solace at the Ziegfeld Theater. It was the only time I ever went to the world famous Ziegfeld Theater, and it doesn't exist. I saw Quantum of Solace in 2000 and I want to say 9. It was 2009. And then when Skyfall opened, it was the 50th anniversary of the Bond franchise in 2012, and we went. And my friend Tiers and his girlfriend came from Norway. They came down from Norway, and so this is not an unprecedented thing. And then my friend Emma, who I'd met on Superman Returns, she had worked in Fiji as a documentarian. Now she runs this beautiful hotel in England. She came out, and Charlie de Lazaric came out. So we had a great crew. So we're going to do that again. Tommy Martinson from Sweden says, Have you read the Luther Strode comics? Insanely violent and brutal, but a fun read with interesting artwork. I have not read those comics, which I should. Let's see. Wow, there are a lot of people here. A lot of people here are chatting and all of that, which is great. It's good to see that. Although, I'm running out of. I've got to go down further. Teddy Mopar says, Rob, I always can't help but notice the helmet sitting behind you in every video. Do you ride a motorcycle? Okay, no. I've never in my life ridden a motorcycle. I'll tell you about this helmet. I'll bring it out because when people ask about it, I love to show this off. So, if any of you know RoboCop or Macross, the great Japanese show with Macross with transforming Veritech fighters, for the 30th anniversary of Macross, this Japanese motorcycle helmet company made motorcycle helmets of all of the four main pilots, like Rick Hunter in English. This is the Roy Fokker motorcycle helmet. It was $500. This is what an idiot I am. This is like a $500. It's a real motorcycle helmet. It's awesome. It's a street racing motorcycle helmet. It's got Roy Fokker's skull and crossbones because his Valkyrie fighter has the skull and crossbones. It's got the UN Spacey. So this is actually a Macross motorcycle helmet. It's a working motorcycle helmet, and it was done for the 50th anniversary of Macross, the 30th anniversary of Macross and Robotech, and they made all four helmets. These are working helmets. So that's what this is. I've never ridden a motorcycle in my life. And if I did, I would certainly not use this because I wouldn't want to get a scratch on it. But it's badass. I mean, I love this thing. It's so cool. And it is totally street legal, and it's an amazing, it's a little dusty, but it's an amazing motorcycle helmet. And it's Robotech, so why not, right? Okay. Let's see, where are we? I'm missing. Okay, I'm not missing that much. He would be a great Bond, I think. Midnights After Dark says, hey, Bill Hunt. Scott Dolson says, Inglorious Trexperts rocks. Thank you for that. I really love the Inglorious Trexperts podcast. I think it's great, and I think it's really well produced. It's interesting because I had to produce a podcast this week that, I aspired to. It was done quickly. I did it for Mike Bodden, who's here. And I don't know what he thought of it, the finished version, because I was recording. He gave me some copy, and I was recording it last night. Like, it was just scratchy. I couldn't do that. I felt my voice was not up to par because I'd been talking all week. Pre-live teaser says, I think Elon Musk owns the Lotus from For Your Eyes Only. Okay, that Lotus is not the coolest Lotus because that Lotus in For Your Eyes Only blew up, as we all know. The real Lotus to have would be the Lotus from The Spy Who Loved Me, the submarine Lotus. There's a really interesting story about that one. Like this couple bought at auction. They bought like in some shipyard, the shipping container. It had that Lotus in it. That's crazy. Did I say RoboCop? Mr. Ledford said, I meant Robotech. Here's the thing. Robotech is the American version. Robotech is lame. I mean, it's not lame, but it was, here's the thing. Robotech, the original Robotech was made up of 3 Japanese shows. It was made up of Macross, Southern Cross, and Genesis Climber, Mospeada. And that's what they proto-culture and all that. They rewrote that stuff. But I'm a big fan of the original. Bill Hunt says, now you need a Galactica 1980s Sky Cycle to go with that helmet. No, I don't. Awesome nonetheless, Rob, says Teddy Mopar. Yes, Macross would be hard to translate to live action. I agree, but you know what? They keep trying. I have a great SDF one too in the garage, but I'm missing a piece to it. I was going to put it up and it pisses me off. John Burkett says, I love this live stream. So relaxing. Is it? I hope so. Dwayne Browning says, Axonar blocked me on Twitter today. You know what? You should. Here's the thing about Axonar. Everything that they do, like blocking you on Twitter, is something that it means that they're not making the movie they're supposed to make, which has pretty much been par for the course since 2014. We're 5 years into the whole Axonar thing. I was a part of it for a long time. I really wanted to make a great movie, but it's amazing because Alec could shut up all of his haters. He says I don't do the work. By the way, if you have not visited my website, which is theburnetwork.net, please, all of you, go to my website and look and download the Prelude to Axonar, the Axonar documentaries. Look up the Axonar. You can, on the pull down menu, look up Axonar on the website, and you can see I made about 50 minutes of documentary material that showed what I was planning for the Axonar feature film and a lot of work that was done, which is, by the way, a lot more Axonar material than Alec Peters has created for all of you. I've finished all of the Axonar material, all of the video work that ever came out of Axonar. Alex says I didn't do the work, including finishing Prelude to Axonar, the Vulcan scene, and all kinds of videos. You can see Alec Peters playing Colonel Nathan Jessup on my own website, the Burnettwork, if you want. And I really enjoyed it. I'm really proud of Prelude to Axonar. I think it's really cool. But yeah, blocking people, it's never good. You know what blocking people is? I mean, it's fun when it's fun. I don't doubt that. But when people ask legitimate questions, it just means you're a coward that won't answer them. That's all I'm saying. See, I can back up everything that I say with truth and facts. That's what this was all about in the beginning. The King of Scotland says, we need to get Rob and Doomcock to do a stream together on Trek. I buy some popcorn and a 6-pack for that. Dude, I would love to do a Skype conversation with Doomcock, but I don't even know, can he do that at live action? Can he do that for real? Like, could Doomcock and I go talk Trek, but in his thing? Doomcock cracks me up, by the way. I love his voice too. It's great. Scott Dolson says, loved your videos of the Axonar special effects. Too bad a couple of things didn't quite get finished. Yeah, I know, dude. There's a lot of things, and a lot of those, for those of you who don't know, if you go to my website and see these videos, some of the videos are different iterations. They were never finished. There's a lot of, like, the explosion when the gas giant blows up. That was never finished to my satisfaction. There's shots that weren't done. And I was in the process of doing all this, and we got sued. I mean, I've been working for 4 months with Tobias doing those effect shots. There's more to come too. And there's all kinds of testing, and where Milton Santiago and I did tests of fabric and paint swatches. And, Alec would come out and go, what are you guys shooting? And we're like, paint colors. So we know how they look on camera. So we know what color to paint the bridge. And Alex was like, no, I'm going to paint the bridge how I want to paint the bridge. I'm like, well, how you might want to paint the bridge doesn't have any effect on how it's going to look on camera. You should do camera tests and see how it's going to look. Don't just paint it because you think it's going to look cool. But, that's what real filmmakers think. Bill Hunt says, also, I can personally vouch for the fact that Rob is one of the very few people who finish anything Axonar related still to this day, 2 years later. You know what, Bill? You know who else finishes something Axonar related? You, sir. Bill Hunt finished the Axonar screenplay, of which it was never finished until Bill Hunt came on board. And you can read that on my website as well. You can download Bill's script. And you know what we never get credit for, and Bill certainly doesn't? We retained, when Bill was rewriting, by the way, I feel guilty because I made him do it. I threw Bill out into I was like Commodus and he was Maximus. And I was sitting up in my little perch, and I'm like, hey, Bill, go down there and fight that battle. And I'll read your pages, and here's a few notes. But Bill Hunt worked on that script more than, for years, and by the way, Bill Hunt has written a fantastic science fiction novel. And yes, sir, I finished it. And it's called Only Those Who Risk. and it is the first of a series. It's Bill's first novel, and it's about fucking time. It's really, really good, and I can't wait to have you guys all read it. It's a great book, and I can't wait to see it come out. Tommy Martinson says, a fan of war history, fan of metal music. Check out the Swedish bands Sabaton. Except for that, first of all, what is it with you guys? What is it with the Norwegians and the Swedes and the death metal bands? I can't wait. I can't wait to see that new film about the Norwegian death metal band. But it's cold. I get it. I'm from Seattle. The reason grunge rock, you know why people wore flannel? Because you could keep your garage door open and you could still play music. You could still shred with flannel. That's why people wore flannel. It wasn't a fashion statement. It was utilitarian. Bright says, Bill for the win. Bill is always winning. Bill is always winning. If you guys haven't read the Digital Bits, you should read the Digital Bits. First of all, Bill Hunt is and his wife are two of the greatest people in the world. They're so nice, and they're animal lovers. They love cats. But Bill is a big, big, big geek, just like me, and it's great. The King of Scotland says Alec Peters is fine, but he's got a t-shirt salesman vibe. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I liked Alec. I mean, we had the same taste in Star Trek, and we had the same enthusiasm. But the difference is that I'm comfortable with myself. I don't have to prove anything to anyone because I just keep doing stuff. Here's another piece of advice that Ripped with Rob will give you. In your world, allow the work you do to be the locomotive that pulls your caboose down the track of life. Because once you've done the work, no one can take it away from you. No one can sit there and go, where's the work, man? It's not done. But if you do the work, it's done. Isn't that great? You can point to it. You can send it out. You can show people and be like, here, you can point to things that I've done. Here's the work that I've done. And you sleep better at night, and you don't have to block people on Twitter simply because you want to. If they ask you questions, it's great. It's much better, it's much better to go through life and have things you can give to people, or go, here's the Amazon link. Please buy my work. That's how I like to live. Scott Dolson says, do you really need an elevator pitch for a screenplay? Same question for a logline. That's a really good question. Yes, you do. For those who might not know what Scott is asking, a pitch is a very quick summation of what your story is about, or it's a pitch or a log line. A pitch is different. A log line is you're stating the premise in a unique and enticing way. A pitch is when you take that premise and you expand upon it and you pitch the whole story. And yes, you need that. It's an art form. But it can't just be, it's Die Hard meets Event Horizon. You can't just do that. You need to it needs to be better than that. And, I tell people, pick your favorite paperback novel that you read and read the back of that paperback novel. That's sort of what your expanded log line is. That's your elevator pitch. And if people go, oh, I'd watch that. And then you have to expand it out, explain it. But it's really important. Bill Hunt says, I salute you, brother. Working closer with you after knowing you so long is the best damn thing that came out of Axanar. We will find a way to do it again. Yes, sir, we will. I'll tell you, I'll work with Bill Hunt any day of the week and twice on Sunday, unless the Vikings and the Seahawks are playing. Then we both will not be working on Sunday. But yeah, I mean, Bill Hunt is a great guy, and he's been furthering the cause of home video and physical media, and he loves cinema as much as I do, and that's a great thing. Bill Hunt says to Scott Dolson, yes, absolutely. Honing your elevator pitch really clarifies the idea both for you and everyone else. Absolutely. It's really important. Midnight's Edge After Dark says, I don't think people give the first Captain America enough attention, in my humble opinion. Bright, very solid movie, great director, some of the best effects in the MCU because you don't notice most of them. I agree. I love Captain America, the First Avenger. I think it's great. And it really sets up, it does such a good job of setting up Chris Evans as Cap. Dale M., how do directors pitch a movie? James Gunn tells how he got Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's crazy all he prepared just for the pitch. I never knew guys did that much. Oh, yeah. Look, if you now, a lot of people have to make what's called a look book, where you go into a pitch and you give books out that have images and things basically your Pinterest it's a Pinterest book of all of the images that you have to, the more work you do in your pitch, the better off you are. It's crazy. But yeah, you have to do a ton of work. And look, Guardians of the Galaxy, that was a big pitch. I mean, Marvel does that. They open up their doors and they're finding people, pitch me a story. And how do you see it? They need to know. And in this day and age, everybody needs to know. And there's so many ways to make pitches and create things. And there's no excuse. You got to do the work. That's part of the work of doing. Look, if you're a director, if you want to be a director has to have a vision for the material that you're pitching. You have to be able to convey that vision to other people that are going to make it rain and give you the cheddar to make this thing. And if you expect to be helming, whether it's $1 million movie or $100 million movie, you need to have a vision, and that vision needs to be very clearly and strongly articulated to everyone. And if you can't do that, then you have no business directing a movie. Downey Pearson says, okay, got to sleep in preparation for the new movie I'm seeing tomorrow morning. Thanks for the live stream, Rob. Bye just now. Dude, what movie are you seeing tomorrow morning? You can't leave. Donnie, what are you seeing? Are you going to Lego movie? What's up? Tommy says, what are your thoughts on Glass? I totally get why some were disappointed, but I personally liked it a lot despite some issues. I'll tell you something. I saw Glass today because between John Campia's show and the podcast that I recorded, I had 3.5 hours, and it was like, what am I going to do? Do I go home? Which was kind of a schlep. I didn't. So I went and saw Glass. I had not seen it. And I have to say, I liked it, but I was surprised at what a small movie it was. It was really tiny and really contained. I mean, and I understand the movie had a production budget of $20 million. I'm sure 15 million of it went to Bruce Willis, James McAvoy, and Sam Jackson, and they had 5 million to make the movie. And Sarah Paulson probably cost something. She was great. But I liked it. Like a lot of people didn't like. I liked it, but to me, it was like this low budget B movie that was a really interesting continuation. It's my least favorite of the three, but I did like it, and I really liked the ending. People complained about the ending. I liked it. To me, I've always loved low budget B movies and things like that, but I thought it was really interesting. But there wasn't that much to it, and I didn't think it certainly wasn't overly directed. It did have that sort of like minimal. It was very a minimalist vibe. It wasn't. The cinematography was not flashy. When you get into the big interrogation scene where Sarah Paulson's in the Pepto-Bismol room, it was like, okay, that's like the centerpiece of the film, but it was surprisingly small and quiet. And I liked it. I liked it. Midnight Edge After Dark says, it still looks good in 3D to me. Bill Hunt, someday I'll upgrade to 4K. I have been future-proofing myself with 2D titles. Dude, I wish everything was in 3D. 3D TVs are going to go away. Pre-live teaser says Mike Zeck drew a great Captain America annual starring Wolverine. Yes, he did. Good potential movie. Mike Zeck also drew that great Punisher miniseries that started out as 4 and went to 5. Scott Dolson said, did you ever watch the Project Greenlight series? If so, is it a fair representation? Yeah. Project Greenlight, let's just say they enhance things for dramatic effect. Again, making movies is not as loosey-goosey or such a free-for-all as they would make you think. But it was interesting. The King of Scotland says, imagine a day when a man can dream a film and a computer could put it up to the screen. Yeah, I don't know, man. Making movies is so much fun. If you guys have ever seen the Wim Wenders movie Until the End of the World, which I really liked, it was about people they could record their dreams, and they got addicted to sitting back and watching their own dreams every day. It's kind of weird. Bill Hunt says, hey, Rob, X-Men rebooted for the MCU. What say you? That's what I talk about that all the time. I think so. I can't wait. But I have to, PK Olson, dude asks, or dude or dudette. I don't know. I don't want to assume. PK Olson says, Logan's Run on Netflix. Should I watch it? If I can only tell you, PK, how many times I've seen, Logan's Run, I was 9 years old when I first saw it. My mom took me, and I saw boobs. Jenny Agutter dropped her trow in the ice cave with box. Logan's Run, look, you're gonna watch the opening scene when they show the domed city, and you're gonna be like, this looks like somebody built it out of Legos. Just get past that. Logan's Run was a mind-blowing experience in 1976. It was amazing. It's nothing like the books. watch Logan's Run. But you know what? If it's not in 235, if it's not in total widescreen and it fills your screen, don't watch that. Get the physical media and watch the real aspect ratio, because it was like Toho scope and it's wide. I love Logan's Run, one of Jerry Goldsmith's greatest scores. Check it out. Tom Morgensen says Spike Jonze' Her is one of the finest. I agree. He says Spike Jonze's Her is one of the finest sci-fi movies of the last decade. I think Her is my favorite science fiction novel about the coming singularity. I love that film. If you haven't seen Her with Scarlett Johansson as the AI and Joaquin Phoenix, it's a fantastic. It joins the pantheon of, for me, it's like Children of Men, Never Let Me Go, Her, all the great science fiction movies that have come out in the last 20 years of these quiet character-based things. Gattaca, which is, by the way, on my list of G's. My list of G's, by the way, right here in my list of G's, ready to go. Locked and loaded. This desk is full of, over the last like 4 days, I've had this deluge of equipment. And why I got all kinds of things that everywhere. It's incredible. This mic stand came in. I got another mic stand. I got another. It's going to be amazing. I'm getting a switcher tomorrow. I got lights. It's going to be, can't wait. Wait till you see how this podcast is going to step up the game. You know, I've been doing this for over 2 hours now, I think, and I'm not even drunk. I haven't been able to finish this. I haven't finished my beer. I've been talking. Listen, you guys, I think it's time to end this crazy Rip with Rob chat. I'm sorry that I started late, and I bought my cat Skippy John Jones. By the way, thank you for everybody who contributed to her GoFundMe campaign. That was helpful. I did take a picture of her tail today that I'm going to be putting up. It looks ugly. It's got a big black scab, but she's all healed up. And thank you for people who've contributed. Those vet bills were a killer. I was not expecting them. So thank you for that. And thank you. You can still come to the Burnettwork website. It's the burnettwork.net. Those people who are supporting me on Patreon, I'm going to be dropping lots more exclusive Patreon videos, like as Greg Smith sends me more in. So thank you for that. The King of Scotland says Ethan Hawke is so underrated. You want to hear something really cool? So last weekend, my friend Dave Hargrove and I went and saw First Reformed, the Paul Schrader film, and Jeff Goldsmith got me a one sheet. It's right here. I'm not going to unroll it, but he got me a First Reformed one sheet that Paul Schrader actually signed and personalized to me. And Paul Schrader, who wrote Taxi Driver, is up for his first Oscar this year for that, and I'm a fan. So I'm going to jump on the phone because I've been talking for all week. It's amazing how much I've talked. Anyway, writer BL Ali says, Bill Hunt, I want to read your book. His book is really, really good. You guys are going to like it. It's the first chapter. Even it'll grab you. It's very suspenseful. Idiot Head says, thanks for doing this, Rob. Keep up the great work. We're watching and supporting. Take care. Cheers. I really appreciate that. You know what? The giveaways are still on. They're because I've been renovating. There's so much equipment here that I have no room for all the comics and the things I'm going to put. They're back, and everyone who's already won. For those of you who don't know, I've been doing these giveaways for anybody who sends a super chat question in, anyone who's a Patreon subscriber, or anybody who just puts their name on the website, put it on the mailing list, is immediately entered into a giveaway. And I gave away the Indiana Jones comics from Marvel from the early 80s. I gave away a full run of Batman and the Outsiders, Neil Gaiman's Black Orchid, and the people that won those should be getting them soon. So check that out. And I'm going to be doing those more. I haven't been able to do that because I've been this week it's been very discombobulating. But I'm going to end this chat now. Thank you all for being here. I can't believe it. It's been great. And this is probably the longest chat. And I'm sorry I didn't do my due diligence and get ripped enough with you guys. I didn't. There was a lot of work happening. I was working on Lucas Kendall's short film up until I almost went on. So I want to thank you all for being here. And as always, remember, every person you meet has a story to tell that you haven't heard. All you have to do is listen to them. All right. So thank you for that. I will be back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow, probably I can't be at noon because I have to do a podcast. You know what? I'll be back tomorrow at early. Let's say 11 o'clock. I'll see you guys at 11 a.m. tomorrow if you want to come back for another Robservations chat. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Getting ripped with Rob a second time. So thanks very much.